Georgiy Gongadze, Ukrainian. Cyrillic capital letter G, Cyrillic small letter I, Cyrillic small letter O, Cyrillic small letter ER, Cyrillic small letter G, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter short 1, Cyrillic capital letter ER, Cyrillic small letter U, Cyrillic small letter S, Cyrillic small letter L, Cyrillic small letter E, Cyrillic small letter EN, Cyrillic small letter O, Cyrillic small letter V, Cyrillic small letter I, Cyrillic small letter Ch, Cyrillic capital letter G, Cyrillic small letter O, Cyrillic small letter En, Cyrillic small letter G, Cyrillic small letter A, Cyrillic small letter T, Cyrillic small letter Z, Cyrillic small letter I, Georgian. Georgian letter Gan, Georgian letter N, Georgian letter On, Georgian letter Ray, Georgian letter Gan, Georgian letter N, Georgian letter Gan, Georgian letter On, Georgian letter NAR, Georgian letter Gan, Georgian letter An, Georgian letter Jill, Georgian letter Yen. The 21st of May 1969, the 17th of September 2000 was a Ukrainian journalist and film director who was kidnapped and murdered in 2000 near Kyiv. He founded the internet newspaper Ukrainska Pravda along with Olena Prytula in 2000. The circumstances of his death became a national scandal and a focus for protests against the government of the then president, Leonid Kuchma. During the cassette scandal, audio tapes were released on which Kuchma, Volodymyr Litvin and other top-level administration officials are heard discussing the need to silence Gongadze for his online news reports about high-level corruption. Former Interior Minister Yuri Kravchenko died of 2 gunshots to the head on the 4th of March 2005, just hours before he was to begin providing testimony as a witness in the case. Kravchenko was the superior of the 4 policemen who were charged with Gongadze's murder soon after Kravchenko's death. The official ruling of suicide was doubted by media reports. 3 former officials of the Ukrainian Interior Ministry's Foreign Surveillance Department and Criminal Intelligence Unit, Valery Kostenko, Mykola Protasov and Alexander Popovic, accused of his murder, were arrested in March 2005, and the 4th one, Alexei Burkach, the former chief of the unit, in July 2009. A court in Ukraine sentenced Protasov to a sentence of 13 years and Kostenko and Popovic to 12-year terms. March 2008, the trial had begun January 2006 for the murder. Gongadze's family believed the trial had failed to bring the masterminds behind the killing to justice. No one has yet been charged with giving the order for Gongadze's murder. Gongadze's widow Myroslava Gongadze and their 2 children received political asylum in the United States and have lived there since 2001. Gongadze was awarded the title Hero of Ukraine by President Viktor Yushchenko on the 23rd of August, 2005. Gongadze was buried in Kyiv on the 22nd of March 2016 in the St. Nicholas the Embankment Church. Biography. Early years and fall of the Soviet Union. Born in Tbilisi, at the time the capital of the Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic of the Soviet Union, Gongadze was the son of a Georgian architect Ruslan Gongadze and a Ukrainian dentist Alisya Korchak, a native of Lviv. His parents met in Lviv where they studied in universities and eventually got married. In 1967 the young Gongadze family moved to Tbilisi. Georgiy was born as a twin, but his brother was taken away while both of them were at the maternity chamber. Diminutive name for Georgiy was Guya. When Guya was 6 years old his parents divorced and his father later married for the 2nd time and had another son from his 2nd marriage. Guy's mother stayed single and continued to live and work in Tbilisi until 1994. During his school years, Guya was an outstanding athlete and was part of the Soviet Reserve Olympic team in sprint on 100 and 200 meters. In his childhood Guya was growing up in multi-language environment, speaking in Russian, Georgian, and English in school and Ukrainian at home. In 1986 Guya enrolled in the Foreign Languages Institute in Tbilisi with specialization in English language, but in 1987 he was already drafted in the Soviet Army serving in Turkmenistan on the border with Iran. His mother said that she had to pay to avoid for Georgiy to be sent to Afghanistan, Soviet-Afghan War. During that time the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev started his reforms perestroika along with liberalization of censorship, glasnost. The process only sped up the process of dissolution of the Soviet Union. Trying to stop the process and preserve the Soviet state, several armed and civil conflicts arose in the Soviet Union, among which was the April 9 tragedy. Soviet troops killed 20 unarmed civilians, which radicalized many Georgians including Georgiy Gongadze. In May 1989 Georgiy returned from the army. Both Ruslan Gongadze and his son Georgiy Gongadze joined the national movement for Free Georgia, where Georgiy was its spokesperson, while Ruslan Gongadze became the leader. In 1989-90 Georgiy traveled to the Baltic states and Ukraine trying to find extra public support and rally more allies in the struggle to free Georgia from the Soviet Union. As part of his tour, in September 1989 Georgiy attended the first Congress of the National Movement of Ukraine, People's Movement of Ukraine, in Kiev, where he represented the Georgian organization. Georgiy also attended the first non-communist music and youth festival Chervona Ruta that in September 1989 was taking place in Chernivtsi. At the festival he met with Mariana Stetsko, whom he married in 1990 and settled in Lviv. There Georgiy found a job as a teacher of English language and physical culture, fitness instructor. While working, Gongadze also studied at the Romano-Germanic Languages faculty of Ivan Franko National University. On the 24th of August 1991, the Ukrainian parliament announced that all residents of the Ukrainian SSR are considered to be citizens of Ukraine, Ukrainian citizenship. In 1991 the first president of Georgia's Gongadze announced several of his former allies as enemies of people, among which was the father of Georgiy Gongadze. Ruslan Gongadze was forced to hide in a basement of a building next to the parliament in Tbilisi. In December 1991 a civil war ensued when government forces opened fire upon anti-Gongadze protesters in Tbilisi, while a militia armed by the oppositional parties counterattacked. At the end of 1991 during the ongoing war Georgiy Gongadze returned to his mother in Tbilisi along with Kalashnikov, saying, "Mom, I arrived to protect the name and honor of my father." Georgiy was not using the rifle and led a team of medical emergency services transferring wounded to a hospital until snipers opened fire on medics. On the 14th of January 1992 Gongadze fled Tbilisi and struggle ended. The power was taken by the opposition and the new president was elected. It was Eduard Shevardnadze, the former Soviet foreign minister and communist leader of Soviet Georgia. On the 15th of January 1992 Georgiy Gongadze returned to Lviv, where he found out that his wife left him. In 1992 Gongadze founded a Georgian Culture Association in Lviv which was named after the Georgian Prince Bagration Only and served as an informational center. During the registration of the organization in government offices, Gongadze met Miroslava Petrician, his future second wife. Both of them wrote an article, Tragedy of Leaders, Ukrainian. Cyrillic capital letter T, Cyrillic small letter ER, Cyrillic small letter A, Cyrillic small letter G, Cyrillic small letter I, Cyrillic small letter T, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter Y, Cyrillic small letter L, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter T, Cyrillic small letter I, Cyrillic small letter ER, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter V about the Georgian Civil War that was published in the Lviv newspaper, Postub in 1992. Later in 1992 Gongadze returned to Tbilisi again to visit his mother who continued to work in a hospital as a nurse. At the time he had intentions to leave active politics and started an own business. But after speaking with several people changed his mind, while his mother was encouraging him to write about the victims of the civil war in Georgia. Gongadze received a camera from his mother and filmed a documentary about the civil war in Georgia, The Pain of My Land, Ukrainian, Cyrillic capital letter B, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter L, Cyrillic small letter soft sign, Cyrillic small letter EM, Cyrillic small letter O, Cyrillic small letter Ukrainian I, Cyrillic small letter Y, Cyrillic small letter Z, Cyrillic small letter I, Cyrillic small letter EM, Cyrillic small letter L, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1. In February 1993, the film was shown on the Ukrainian channel UT3. During that period in 1992, Abkhazia and South Ossetia proclaimed their independence, and Georgia accused Russia in instigating conflicts in those regions. Soon new conflicts started. Russian intervention to Georgia and journalism in Ukraine. Gongadze volunteered to war in Abkhazia, but was refused to be admitted to military service by the government authorities and offered for being the son of Ruslan Gongadze and a Ukrainian citizen to provide propaganda agitation in Ukraine. Georgiy returned to Lviv to perform his diplomatic mission in an active support of Georgia and interethnic conflict. At that time in Ukraine he only was able to find a marginal group of UNSO that were ready to dedicate itself to the Georgian cause. Gongadze was visiting UNSO gatherings to find recruits for fighting in Georgia. UNSO that had for its goal to exile communists and criminals from Ukraine and overpower the Russian expansionism seemed to be coinciding with Georgian nationalists. In July 1993, the UNSO battalion, Argo, led by Dmytro Korkinsky, arrived at Tbilisi and was ready for fight in Abkhazia. Gongadze did not return to Georgia with UNSO, but rather stayed back in Ukraine as his father Ruslan Gongadze became ill with cancer, and in March 1993 the government of Georgia sent him to Ukraine for recovery. Georgiy moved to Kiev and stayed with his father. Ruslan Gongadze did not survive and died on the 5th of August 1993 at age 49. With the body of his father, Georgiy Gongadze returned to Tbilisi. After burying his father, Gongadze started to film a new documentary about the Ukrainian fighters in Abkhazia, funds for which he obtained from selling his Kalashnikov rifle. With the ongoing war that started in August 1992, the separatist forces supported by Russia took over most of Abkhazia and surrounded administrative center of Abkhazia, Sukhumi. In September 1993, in exchange for a ceasefire, the government of Georgia agreed to pull its troops and heavy armament from Sukhumi. However, instead of ceasefire, the separatists started to assault the city. The city was protected by an army of irregular detachments. The president of Georgia, Eduard Shevardnadze, who also was present during the siege, appealed to the president of Russia, Boris Yeltsin, to stop the attack, but Yeltsin chose to ignore it. On the 17th of September 1993, Gongadze left Tbilisi for Sukhumi to film the events. Upon arrival, he was mobilized later that night, and the following morning was at the front lines along the Dniester River, where the enemy was conducting the main assault. Gongadze was in a trench when over his head blew up an artillery shell. Shrapnel hit him in 26 places, including his right hand. From imminent death he was saved by a steel helmet. 2 other people that stood next to him perished. Those shards of shell forever were left inside of his body, and later were used to identify his dead body. About him being wounded, it was mentioned in a report from Sukhumi that was published in a Russophone Tbilisi newspaper, Svobodnaya Gruzia, on the 21st of September 1993. Gongadze was right away taken to a field hospital, where he turned attention to himself by requesting to return from the battlefield his bag with video cassettes. That fact recalled the local militant Konstantin Alenya, also known as Koba, who later became his friend for life. The cassettes were recovered by volunteers. The same Saturday night, Gongadze and several others seriously wounded were sent to Tbilisi on a plane not long before the separatists occupied the city. Kobo was left behind, continued fighting, and later managed to escape with some other militants withdrawing through mountain corridors. In 1995 he left Georgia for Lviv, where by an accident met again with Georgiy in Tbilisi. Gongadze continued with a treatment in a military hospital tended by his mother. However, the worst situation was with food due to the situation in the country. His mother tried to send her son away from Georgia, but did not have enough money as the government did not pay the hospital staff since December 1991. Georgiy Gongadze managed to raise some funds through friends and relatives, and after spending 2 weeks in the hospital, Georgiy flew away to Lviv in October 1993. Georgiy Gongadze stayed behind. In Ukraine, Georgiy created a new documentary out of his video cassettes that was shown on the Ukrainian television, Shadows of War. He married Miroslava, and in 1997 the couple had two daughter-twins. In 1996-1997 Gongadze worked for the Ukrainian television channel STB. He worked for the Kiev-based radio station Continent, on which he had his own show called First Round with Georgiy Gongadze. His strongly independent line soon attracted hostility from the increasingly authoritarian government of Leonid Kuchma. During the October 1999 presidential election, his commentaries prompted a call from Kuchma's headquarters to say that he had been blacklisted to be dealt with after the election. In 1999, he was a spokesman for the Progressive Socialist Party of Ukraine Natalia Vitrenko. Visiting New York in January 2000 with other Ukrainian journalists, he warned of the strangulation of the freedom of speech and information in our state. In April 2000, Gongadze co-founded a news website, Ukrainska Pravda, Ukrainian Truth, as a means of sidestepping the government's increasing influence over the mainstream media. He observed that following the muzzling of a prominent pro-opposition newspaper after the election, today there is practically no objective information available about Ukraine. The website specialized in political news and commentary, focusing particularly on President Kuchma, the country's wealthy oligarchs, and the official media. In June 2000, Gongadze wrote an open letter to Ukraine's chief prosecutor about harassment from the SBU, the Ukrainian secret police, directed towards himself and his Ukrainska Pravda colleagues and apparently related to an investigation into a murder case in the southern port of Odessa. He complained that he had been forced into hiding because of harassment from the secret police, that he said he and his family were being followed, that his staff were being harassed, and that the SBU were spreading a rumor that he was wanted on a murder charge. Georgiy's mother died in 2013. Disappearance and investigations. Gongadze disappeared on the 16th of September 2000, after failing to return home. Foul play was suspected from the outset. The matter immediately attracted widespread public attention and media interest. 80 journalists signed an open letter to President Kuchma urging an investigation and complaining that, during the years of Ukrainian independence, not a single high-profile crime against journalists has been fully resolved. Kuchma responded by ordering an immediate inquiry. This was, however, viewed with some skepticism. Opposition politician Ryry Omelchenko reported that the disappearance had coincided with Gongadze receiving documents on corruption within the president's own entourage. The Ukrainian parliament set up a parallel inquiry run by a special commission. Neither investigation produced any results. 2 months later, on the 3rd of November 2000, a body was found in a forest in the Tarashkinsky Raion district of the Kiev Oblast province, some 70 kilometers, 43 miles outside Kiev near the city of Tarashcha. The corpse had been decapitated and doused in dioxin, apparently to make identification more difficult. Forensic investigations found that the dioxin bath and decapitation had occurred while the victim was still alive. The Russian-edited, Russian-language Ukrainian newspaper Severnya Today reported that Gongadze had been abducted by policemen and accidentally shot in the head while seated in a vehicle, necessitating his decapitation, to avoid the bullet being recovered and matched to a police weapon. His body had been doused in petrol which had failed to burn properly, and had then been dumped. A group of journalists first identified it as being that of Gongadze, a finding confirmed a few weeks later by his wife Miroslava. In a bizarre twist, the corpse was then confiscated by the police and resurfaced in a morgue in Kiev. The authorities did not officially acknowledge that the body was that of Gongadze until the following February and did not definitively confirm it until as late as March 2003. The body was eventually identified and was to be returned to Gongadze's family to be buried 2 years after his disappearance. However, the funeral never took place. As of the 23rd of June 2006, Gongadze's mother refused to accept the remains offered as it was not the body of her son. While visiting Kiev in July 2006, Gongadze's widow Miroslava emphasized that the funeral had now become a solemn family issue and the date of the funeral would soon be appointed. On the 28th of November 2000, opposition politician Alexander Moros publicized secret tape recordings which he claimed implicated President Kukma in Gongadze's murder. The recordings were said to be of discussions between Kukma, Presidential Chief of Staff Volodymyr Litvin, and Interior Minister Yuri Kravchenko, and were claimed to have been provided by an unnamed SBU officer, later named as Major Mykola Melnichenko, Kuchma's bodyguard. The conversations included comments expressing annoyance at Gongadze's writings as well as discussions of ways to shut him up, such as deporting him and arranging for him to be kidnapped and taken to Chechnya. Killing him was, however, not mentioned, and doubt was cast on the tape's authenticity, as the quality of the recordings was poor. Moros told the Ukrainian Verkhovna Rada parliament that the professionally organized disappearance, a slow-moving investigation, disregard for the most essential elements of investigation and incoherent comments by police officials suggest that the case was put together. In September 2001, the American detective agency Kroll Incorporated, contracted by Labor Ukraine, had carried out a 6-month investigation and concluded that then-President Leonid Kuchma had nothing to do with the murder of Gongadze. The affair became a major political scandal, referred to in Ukraine as the cassette scandal or Tapegate. Kuchma strongly denied Moros's accusations and threatened a libel suit, blaming the tapes on foreign agents. He later acknowledged that his voice was indeed one of those on the tapes, but claimed that they had been selectively edited to distort his meaning. In November 2005, upon complaint of Gongadze's widow, the European Court of Human Rights found Ukraine to violate right to life, right to effective remedy and prohibition of degrading treatment. Crises and controversy. The affair became an international crisis for the Ukrainian government during 2001, with the European Union expressing dissatisfaction at the official investigation, rumors of Ukrainian suspension from the Council of Europe, and censure from the OSCE, which described Gongadze's death as a case of censorship by killing and castigated the extremely unprofessional investigation. Mass demonstrations erupted in Kiev in February 2001, calling for the resignation of Kuchma and the dismissal of other key officials. He did sack the head of the SBU, Leonid Durkok, and the chief of the presidential bodyguard, Volodymyr Shepel, but refused to step down. The government invited the US FBI to investigate, though it does not appear that this offer was ever taken up. The protests were eventually forcibly broken up by the police. In May 2001, Interior Minister Yuri Smirnov announced that the murder had been solved. It was attributed to a random act of violence committed by 2 hooligans with links to a gangster called Cyclops. Both of the killers were said to now be dead. The claim was dismissed by the opposition and by the government's own prosecutor general, whose office issued a statement denying Smirnov's claims. Mass protests again broke out in Kiev and other Ukrainian cities in September 2002 to mark the 2nd anniversary of Gongadze's death. The demonstrators again called for Kuchma's resignation, but the protests again failed to achieve their goal, with police breaking up the protesters' camp. The prosecutor of the Tarascha district, where Gongadze's body was found, was convicted in May 2003 for abuse of office and falsification of evidence. Serhiy Bozov was found guilty of forging documents and negligence in the investigation and was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. However, he was immediately released due to a provision of Ukraine's amnesty laws. In June 2004, the government claimed that a convicted gangster identified only as K had confessed to Gongadze's murder, although there was no independent confirmation of the claim. The ongoing investigation received a setback when a key witness died of spinal injuries apparently sustained while in police custody. Gongadze's death became a major issue in the 2004 Ukrainian presidential election, in which the opposition candidate Viktor Yushchenko pledged to solve the case if he became president. Yushchenko did become president following the subsequent Orange Revolution and immediately launched a new investigation, replacing the country's prosecutor general. The Council of Europe's Parliamentary Assembly adopted on the 27th of January 2009 Resolution 1645 on the investigation of crimes allegedly committed by high officials during the Kukma rule in Ukraine, the Gongadze case as an emblematic example. This resolution calls on the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office to use all possible avenues of investigation to identify those who instigated and organized the murder of Georgiy Gongadze. Arrests and trials. Arrest and trial of 3 former policemen and death of Kravchenko. On the 1st of March 2005, Yushchenko announced that the journalist's suspected killers had been arrested. Prosecutor General Sviatoslav Paiskun announced the following day that the case had been solved, telling Ukrainian television that Gongadze had been strangled by employees of the Interior Ministry. 2 of the alleged killers were said to be senior policemen working for the Interior Ministry's Criminal Investigations Directorate, CID. Former Interior Minister Yuri Kravchenko, one of those recorded with Leonid Kukma in the cassette scandal, was also said to be under investigation. The 2 police colonels accused of the killing have been detained, and the 3rd senior policeman, identified as CID Commander Alexei Pirkach, was being sought on an international arrest warrant. On the 4th of March, Yuri Kravchenko was found dead in a dacha in the elite residential area of Koncha-Zaspa, outside Kiev. He had died from apparently self-inflicted gunshot wounds, though some speculated that he might have been assassinated to prevent him from testifying as a witness. Ryhor Yamilchenko, who chaired the parliamentary committee that investigated the Gongadze case, told the New York Times that Kravchenko had ordered Pirkach to abduct Gongadze on President Kuchma's orders. Kuchma himself has denied this allegation but has since been interviewed by investigators. Kravchenko left an alleged suicide note: "My dear ones, I am not guilty of anything. Forgive me, for I became a victim of the political intrigues of President Kukma and his entourage. I am leaving you with a clear conscience. Farewell." In April-May 2005, Paiskun released more details of the ongoing investigation. He told the press that after Gongadze was murdered, a second group disinterred him and reburied him where he was eventually found, in the constituency of Socialist Party leader Alexander Moroz. According to Paiskun, the aim was to undermine the government, led by Viktor Yushchenko when he was still prime minister. The second group was part of or allied with the United Social Democratic Party of Ukraine, SDPWO, a pro-oligarch grouping which had been hit hard by Yushchenko's crackdown on corruption and therefore wanted to see his government toppled. According to the journal Ukraina Moloda, the 14th of April 2005, the SDPWO moved Gongadze in order to discredit President Leonid Kukma and force early elections, which could have led to party leader Medvedchuk succeeding Kukma. The trial against the 3 former policemen charged with the killing of Georgiy Gongadze started on the 9th of January 2006. The other main suspect, ex-police officer Alexei Pirkach, was believed to have fled abroad and therefore charged but not on trial. No one had been charged for ordering the murder. On the day the trial started, Gongadze's widow Miroslava Gongadze commented on the fact that no one has been charged for the killing. They are known and they should be punished just the same as those who will be sitting in the dock today. In mid-March 2008, the three former police officers were sentenced to prison for the actual act of murder of Gongadze. Mykola Protasov was given a sentence of 13 years, while Valery Kostenko and Alexander Popovic were each handed 12-year terms. But so far the investigations have failed to show who ordered the murder. Arrest and trial of Alexei Pirkach. On the 22nd of July 2009, Alexei Pirkach, one of the chief suspects, was arrested in Ukraine's Zhytomyr Oblast. The former chief of the main criminal investigation department at the Ukrainian Interior Ministry's Foreign Surveillance Unit had lived in the house of Lydia Zagoralko, who had told her neighbors that Pirkach was the brother of her dead husband and that he was a former sea captain. Pirkach had lived there with his real second name and original documents. At first it was reported that he had implicated senior political figures in the murder and was ready to show the place where the journalist's head was hidden, but this was denied 2 days after his arrest by his lawyer. According to the lawyer, for the time being, Pirkach was not intended to provide this information to the investigators. Prosecutor General Alexandra Medvedko refused to comment whether Pirkach named those who ordered the murder or not, saying a secret investigation was underway. On the 28th of July 2009, Ukrainian media reported that the remains of Gongadze's skull were found near Bila Tserkva, in a location specified by Pirkach. According to the Prosecutor General's office, they did find fragments of a skull there that may belong to Gongadze. A request by Gongadze's widow, Miroslava Gongadze, to replace Deputy Prosecutor General Mykola Halamsha and investigator Alexander Karchenko, because of their insufficient professionalism and because they were unable to withstand political pressure and speculation surrounding the case, was rejected on the 30th of July 2009. A request by Gongadze to replace Pirkach's lawyer was also denied on the 28th of October, 2009. On the 20th of November 2009, Gongadze's mother Lesia gave consent to an examination of fragments of the skull found in July 2009 under the condition she could take fragments of the skull for private DNA examination she plans to conduct at a private foreign laboratory after the 2010 Ukrainian presidential election. In September 2010, she stated that in her opinion, the fragments of the skull found in July 2009 had nothing to do with her son. On the 3rd of December 2009, Pirkach's detention was extended by 2 months. On the 6th of December 2009, Mykola Melnichenko accused Volodymyr Litvin of ordering the murder of Gongadze in 2000. Melnichenko offered no proof to back up the claim. A spokesperson for Litvin dismissed the claims as part of the 2010 Ukrainian presidential election campaign. The Prosecutor General's Office of Ukraine plans to complete its investigation into the case of Alexei Pirkach by the end of the summer of 2010. Ukrainian Prosecutor General Alexandra Medvedko stated on the 17th of June 2010 that skull fragments found near Bila Tserkva in July 2009 were those of Gongadze. On the 14th of September 2010, Ukraine's Office of the Prosecutor General issued a statement stating that prosecutors had concluded that former Interior Minister Yuri Kravchenko had ordered Pirkach to carry out the murder, and stating that Pirkach had confessed to the murder. According to Gongadze's widow, Miroslava Gongadze, Kravchenko had no grounds for such actions. She believes that several people ordered the killing of the journalist. According to Georgiy Gongadze's mother, Lesia, the statement was an attempt by the Prosecutor General's office to excuse itself for its inactivity. On the 16th of September 2010, Chairman of the Ukrainian Parliament Volodymyr Litvin stated that the investigation into the murder of Gongadze confirmed his innocence in this crime. Pirkach's trial, on allegations he strangled and beheaded Gongadze, began on the 7th of July 2011. It was closed to the public. On the 30th of August 2011, Pirkach claimed that former Ukrainian President Leonid Kuchma was the one who ordered the murder. During the trial he also alleged that Kuchma's head of his presidential administration Volodymyr Litvin, at the time of the trial chairman of the Verkhovna Rada, Ukraine's parliament and member of the Verkhovna Rada, also ordered the murder of Gongadze. In December 2011, the Pechersk District Court refused to accept witness testimony of Mykola Malnishenko as he has not been authorized to gather evidences for committing crime, while conducting recordings in a cabinet of the President of Ukraine. On the 29th of January 2013, Pyrkach was sentenced to life imprisonment by the Pechersk District Court of Kiev. Alexei Pyrkach also was stripped of his rank, General of Militia. The court ruled Pyrkach had murdered the journalist on orders from former Interior Minister Yuri Kravchenko, who was seeking a career promotion. On the 9th of July 2014, Gongadze's widow Myroslava withdraws her appeal against the sentence of Pyrkach, because, according to her lawyer Valentina Telechenko, if the Court of Appeals will meet our appeal, it will be forced to simultaneously release Pyrkach from custody. We believe that Pyrkach is a killer and should serve his sentence. Telechenko blamed former First Deputy Prosecutor General of Ukraine Renat Kuzmin for speculating with the Gongadze case that, according to her, led to exhausting Pyrkach's length of stay in detention during the preliminary investigation. Charges against Leonid Kuchma. The General Prosecutor of Ukraine's office cancelled its resolution to deny opening of criminal cases against former President Leonid Kuchma and other politicians within the Gongadze case on the 9th of October, 2010. On the 24th of March 2011, Ukrainian prosecutors charged Kuchma with involvement in the murder. The decision prompted mixed reaction among the public. Former Prime Minister and the leader of the main opposition party Yulia Tymoshenko argued that Kuchma's arrest was no more than a PR stunt designed to distract people from their economic woes and prop up President Viktor Yanukovych's sagging popularity. Another theory was that Yanukovych was driven by the desire for revenge on Kuchma, who often humiliated Yanukovych and refused to use force to stop the Orange Revolution in 2004. Political analysts suggested that Yanukovych's display of justice could also be aimed at winning credit from the West, which has criticized him for usurping power and squeezing out democracy. A Ukrainian district court ordered prosecutors to drop criminal charges against Kuchma on the 14th of December 2011 on grounds that evidence linking him to the murder of Gongadze was insufficient. The court rejected Melnichenko's recordings as evidence. Gongadze's widow Myroslava Gongadze appealed against this decision 1 week later. First Deputy Prosecutor General of Ukraine Renat Kuzmin claimed the 20th of February 2013 that his office had collected enough evidence confirming Kuchma's responsibility for ordering Gongadze's assassination. Kuchma's reply the next day was, "This is another banal example of a provocation, which I've heard more than enough in the past 12 years." 2014 Revisit investigation. On the 9th of July 2014, General Prosecutor of Ukraine Vitaly Yarema stated that his office would revisit investigations into high-profile cases that were dropped unlawfully, including the cases dealing with the murder of Gongadze. Remembrance. Gongadze was buried in the Mykola Naberezhny Church in Kiev on the 22nd of March 2016. Gongadze had remained unburied until then, as Lesya Gongadze, the journalist's mother, has refused to have the body interred until Gongadze's head had been found. In 2009, according to the Prosecutor's General Office, the remains of his skull were found, but Lesya Gongadze had refused to acknowledge that the found remains belonged to her son. Lesya Gongadze died on the 30th of November, 2013. President Viktor Yushchenko awarded Gongadze the title Hero of Ukraine on the 23rd of August 2005. Gongadze's widow Myroslava Gongadze was given the Star of the Hero decoration by President Petro Poroshenko on the 21st of March, 2014. In June 2005, Kiev's Industrialnaya Street was renamed Georgiy Gongadze Street. Prospect Radianska Ukraina in Kiev's Vinogradar neighborhood was renamed Prospect Georgiy Gongadze in 2007. A monument to Gongadze and all journalists killed for their professional activities was opened in Kiev Park at Chervenormyska Street in August 2008, though Gongadze's mother, Lesia Gongadze, was against erecting a monument until the investigation is completed. She repeated her wish to remove the monument to Gongadze after a meeting with Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych on the 22nd of June 2010. She also added her discontent with political forces holding PR campaigns regarding the Gongadze murder case. A literary token of respect for the work and courage of Gongadze is to be found in the novel for young adults, Fair Game, The Steps of Odessa, Spire Publishing, 2008, ISBN 1-897312-72-5 by James Watson. The book is dedicated to Georgiy Gongadze, but the theme of a persecuted journalist and the impact of his revelations about government corruption on his football-playing daughter, Natasha, and his son Lamia, has strong similarities to Gongadze's own fate. In Kiev and Lviv, ceremonies marking the disappearance of Gongadze were held on the 16th of September 2010, 10 years after his disappearance. Filmography as film director. 1992, The Pain of My Land, Ukrainian, Cyrillic capital letter B, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter L, Cyrillic small letter soft sign, Cyrillic small letter EM, Cyrillic small letter O, Cyrillic small letter Ukrainian I, Cyrillic small letter Y, Cyrillic small letter Z, Cyrillic small letter IE, Cyrillic small letter EM, Cyrillic small letter L, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1 1993, Shadows of War Ukrainian, Cyrillic capital letter T, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter EN, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter V, Cyrillic small letter Belarusian Ukrainian 1, Cyrillic small letter short 1, Cyrillic small letter EN, Cyrillic small letter I by the Center of Georgian Culture. See also Freedom of the Press in Ukraine. List of solved missing persons cases. Miroslava Gongadze, widow of Georgiy Gongadze. Olena Prytula, co-founder of Ukrainska Pravda Orange Revolution. Ukrainska Pravda. Vasil Klimentyev, journalist who disappeared in 2010. Footnotes and references. Further reading. External links. BBC News reports on the latest developments in the investigation of Gongadze's death, Killing the Story, the BBC's extensive investigation of Gongadze's case. Collection of photocopied documents supposedly leaked from the criminal investigation of Gongadze's murder. Georgiy Gongadze murder, a horrific crime. September 2010. Timeline of the crime by Kiev Post. Georgiy Gongadze case, Anatomy of a cover-up. September 2010. Timeline of alleged cover-up of the crime by Kiev Post. Gongadze case, 2000-2008, a legal review. An investigation by Dr. Ihor Vyacheslav Slavic by Hun, LL.M. September 2008. Yurgaz to Yurgazstar Review, a comprehensive chronology of events, interviews with Judge Igororieva, trial attorneys Vichev Guz, M. Laptiev, Vitaly Kenko, lawyer for M. Gongadze, Miroslava Gongadze, etc. Key witness in the Gongadze case dead, March 2005. Ukrainska Pravda article on the death of Kravchenko, analyzing also his role in Gongadze case, includes fragments of the Melnychenko recordings. How the Gongadze case has been investigated, June 2005. Ukrainska Pravda article on the history of the Gongadze case investigation. Ukrainska Pravda's webpage dedicated to Gongadze and his case about Gongadze. 24 Canal. Gongadze about Timoshenko. Delovkusa. Dialogue of Gongadze with Medvedchuk.